The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, and I didn't even flinch. My ears were ringing too loudly to hear the glass break. All I could hear were the sounds coming from the bridal suite. My bridal suite, where I'd left my wedding dress hanging just 20 minutes ago. God, I've wanted this for so long, my sister Vanessa moaned through the crack in the door. Then take it. Take all of it. That was Marcus. My husband of less than 3 hours. My hand was still on the door handle. I'd come back for my grandmother's bracelet, the something borrowed I'd left on the vanity in my rush to greet guests. The reception was in full swing downstairs. 200 people were drinking, dancing, celebrating a marriage that had just been desecrated before the cake was even cut. I pushed the door open. They didn't hear me at first. Vanessa's bridesmaid dress, the lavender one I'd spent 2 weeks helping her pick out, was pooled on the floor beside my wedding gown. Marcus had her pressed against the wall where my veil hung on a hook, and neither of them had the decency to be fully undressed. This wasn't some drunken mistake. This was rushed, urgent, deliberate. Please stop, I whispered. My voice came out broken, childlike. Don't do this. Marcus's head whipped around. For one long, terrible moment, we just stared at each other. His boutonniere was still pinned to his vest. The same vest I'd watched him button up that morning while he told me he was the luckiest man alive. Vanessa met my eyes over his shoulder, and what I saw there wasn't shame. It was triumph. Oh honey, she said, not even trying to cover herself. You weren't supposed to see this yet. Yet that single word made my knees buckle. I grabbed the doorframe to stay upright. How long? I heard myself ask. Marcus stepped away from Vanessa, reaching for his pants. His face had gone pale, but he wasn't scrambling with panic. He was calculating. I could see him measuring his words, planning his explanation. Claire, listen. How long? The scream tore out of me, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. The corset of my reception dress was too tight. Everything was too tight. 6 months, Vanessa answered for him, smoothing her hair like we were discussing the weather. Give or take. 6 months. We'd been engaged for 8. I'd asked Vanessa to be my maid of honor 7 months ago. She'd cried, actual tears, and told me it was the greatest honor of her life. My baby sister. The one I'd raised after mom died. The one I'd put through college by working double shifts at the hospital. The one who'd slept in my bed during thunderstorms until she was 13 because dad was always too drunk to comfort her. You came to my dress fittings, I said stupidly. You helped me write my vows. Vanessa laughed. Actually laughed. Those vows were beautiful, by the way. I especially loved the part about eternal faithfulness. Very touching. Marcus finally found his voice. Claire, you have to understand. I don't have to understand anything. The shock was wearing off now, replaced by something cold and sharp. Get away from her. He didn't move. I said get the fuck away from my sister. That time he listened, stepping back with his hands raised like I was the dangerous one in the room. I looked at Vanessa, really looked at her. When had she become this person? Or had she always been this person, and I'd been too busy being the good big sister to notice? Why? It was the only question that mattered. She tilted her head, studying me with those same green eyes we'd inherited from our mother. Do you really want to know? Yes, because you don't deserve him. She said it so simply, like it was obvious. You don't deserve any of this. The perfect job, the perfect man, the perfect life. It should have been mine. I gave you everything. You gave me scraps. Her composure cracked, just for a moment. You gave me your hand-me-downs and your pity and your fucking martyrdom. St. Clair, who sacrificed so much for her poor baby sister. Do you know what it's like living in your shadow? Being the screw-up while you're everyone's favorite? I never. You never had to try. She was screaming now too, years of resentment pouring out. Everything came so easy for you. School, career, Marcus. He barely looked at me when we were growing up. Did you know that? I was invisible. Just Claire's weird little sister. Marcus had gone very still, watching this unfold like it was happening to someone else. So you decided to destroy me on my wedding day? My voice had gone quiet again, deadly calm. Vanessa smiled, and it was the cruelest thing I'd ever seen. I decided to take what should have been mine all along. And honestly, it wasn't even that hard. Marcus has been unhappy for months. I turned to him. Is that true? He wouldn't meet my eyes. That was answer enough. The sex got boring, Vanessa continued, clearly enjoying herself now. He told me you were too predictable. Too vanilla. Always so worried about doing the right thing, being the good girl. Each word was a carefully placed knife, designed for maximum damage. And they were working. Your sister, though? Marcus finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. She's don't. I held up a hand. Don't you dare finish that sentence. But Vanessa finished it for him. Exciting, spontaneous, alive. Everything you're not, Claire. There was a knock at the door. My best friend Sophie's voice called through. Claire? People are asking for you. Are you okay? I stared at the two people who'd just obliterated my life and realized I had a choice to make. I could collapse right here, let them see me break, give them that satisfaction. Or I could stand up. I chose to stand. I'm fine, Soph. I'll be right down. Vanessa's smile faltered. What are you doing? I walked to the vanity, picked up my grandmother's bracelet, and clasped it around my wrist with steady hands. Then I looked at my reflection. My makeup was still perfect. Not a single tear had fallen. I'm going back to my wedding reception, I said calmly. I'm going to smile and dance and cut my cake. And you two are going to stay up here and think very carefully about what happens next. You can't be serious, Marcus said. Oh, I'm deadly serious. Because right now, downstairs, there are 200 people who just watched us exchange vows. There are photographers and videographers documenting every moment. Your entire family is here, Marcus. Your boss, your colleagues, my family, my friends, everyone we know. I saw understanding dawn in his eyes. If you think I'm going to let you humiliate me in front of all those people, you're insane. We're going to get through tonight like nothing happened. Tomorrow, you can explain to everyone why our marriage lasted exactly 4 hours. You can tell your Catholic mother why her son is getting a same-day annulment. You can explain to your firm's senior partners why you're now the guy who fucked his bride's sister on his wedding day, Claire. And Vanessa? I turned to my sister. You're going to have to explain to Dad why his baby girl destroyed the only family she had left. You're going to have to explain to Aunt Marie, to the cousins, to everyone who helped raise you after Mom died. You wanted what was mine? Congratulations. You can have all of it, including the consequences. I walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and you might want to fix your hair, V. You've got beard burn on your neck. Wouldn't want anyone at the reception to wonder how you got it. I left them there and went back to my wedding. 25 years earlier, Vanessa had been born on the worst day of my life. Not because of her. She was perfect, tiny, with a shock of dark hair and those startling green eyes. But because that was the day Mom's cancer came back. I was 9 years old, and I understood enough to know that Mom crying while holding her newborn wasn't normal. Dad had explained it to me in the hospital cafeteria, his hands shaking around a coffee cup he never drank. Your mom is sick again, Claire Bear. Really sick this time. Mom had been in remission for 3 years. I barely remembered the first round of treatments, the way she'd looked without hair, the way Dad had tried to keep everything normal while our world fell apart. Is she going to die? He couldn't answer. He just pulled me close and let me feel him cry. Mom lived for 4 more years. Long enough to teach me how to braid Vanessa's hair, how to make her favorite foods, how to soothe her nightmares. Long enough to make me promise I'd take care of my baby sister, no matter what. You're so good with her, Claire, Mom had said near the end, her voice paper-thin. You're going to be an amazing big sister. She's going to need you. I'd kept that promise. God, how I'd kept it. When Mom died, Dad disappeared into whiskey and grief. At 13, I became Vanessa's primary parent. I made her lunches, helped with homework, went to parent-teacher conferences. I worked weekends at the grocery store to buy her school clothes, gave up my college fund to cover Dad's drinking debts. Vanessa had always been difficult, moody, manipulative, prone to dramatic outbursts. Teachers called her troubled. Therapists suggested behavioral issues. I called her my sister and loved her anyway. But there were signs I'd missed. Or maybe I'd seen them and made excuses. Like in high school, when she'd stolen my boyfriend by telling him I was cheating. I'd found out later she'd fabricated the whole thing, but by then, Jake and I were over, and he was taking Vanessa to prom. I'm sorry, she'd said when I confronted her. Crocodile tears streaming. I didn't mean for it to happen. I just really liked him. And I knew you'd say yes if I asked because you always do. She was 16. I'd convinced myself it was normal teenage selfishness. Or in college, when she'd maxed out the credit card I'd given her for emergencies. $20,000 spent on clothes, trips, parties. It took me 3 years to pay off. I have a shopping addiction, she'd claimed. I need help, Claire. Please don't abandon me. So I'd gotten her therapy and paid the debt. Or when she'd shown up at my apartment at 2 a.m. 6 months ago, crying about her latest breakup, I'd held her while she sobbed, made her tea, let her sleep in my bed. The next morning, Marcus had made us all breakfast. He'd been so kind to her, so understanding. He'd always had a soft spot for Vanessa, said she reminded him of his own troubled younger sister. That must have been when it started. I thought about all this as I descended the staircase back to the reception, my hand gliding along the banister, my smile fixed in place. Sophie was waiting at the bottom, her face worried. What happened? You look. I'm perfect, I said brightly. Just needed a moment. You know how overwhelming weddings can be. She didn't believe me. Sophie had known me since med school. She could read my micro-expressions like textbooks, but she also knew not to push okay. Well, they're about to do the toasts. Your dad's looking for you. Dad. God, I couldn't think about telling Dad. Not tonight. I found him by the bar, already 3 drinks deep and glassy-eyed. He pulled me into a clumsy hug that smelled like scotch and old cologne. My beautiful girl, he slurred. Your mother would be so proud. The irony almost made me laugh. Mom would be devastated. She'd loved Vanessa so much, had such high hopes for her. What would she think of what her baby girl had become? Thanks, Dad. Where's that husband of yours? Where's Marcus? Getting some air. The receiving line wore him out. Another lie. They were coming so easily now. The toasts began. Marcus's best man told a story about their college days that I'd heard 100 times. My maid of honor, Sophie, thankfully, not Vanessa, gave a beautiful speech about love and partnership that made everyone tear up. I wondered if anyone could see the cracks forming beneath my smile. Then it was Dad's turn. He stumbled to the microphone, and my stomach dropped. Drunk Dad at a wedding was never good. My Claire, he began, voice thick with emotion and alcohol. She's always been the strong one, the one who holds everything together. After her mother died, she raised her sister, took care of me, never complained once. Please stop, I thought. She sacrificed everything for this family. College, career opportunities, relationships. All for us. And she never asked for anything in return. The room was silent. Everyone listening. And now she's got Marcus. Finally, someone who sees how special she is. Someone who's going to take care of her for a change. I couldn't look at anyone. I stared at my hands, at my grandmother's bracelet, at the wedding ring that suddenly felt like a shackle. To Claire and Marcus, Dad raised his glass. May your love last forever, forever. The room echoed. I drank. The champagne tasted like poison. Marcus appeared beside me moments later, Vanessa trailing behind him. They'd both cleaned up, fixed their clothes, painted on appropriate expressions. Marcus took my hand, and I let him, even though my skin crawled at his touch. Sorry, he whispered. Your dad wanted us for photos. I didn't respond. The photographer positioned us, bride and groom, beaming, perfect. I could see Vanessa in my peripheral vision, watching with that same triumphant smile. Flash. Another lie captured forever. Can we get one with the maid of honor? The photographer asked. Vanessa glided over, wrapped her arm around my waist. We'd taken 1,000 photos like this over the years. The sisters, the survivors, the team flash, the ultimate betrayal, immortalized. Beautiful, the photographer cooed. You two look so close. If only he knew. The night dragged on. First dance, cake cutting, bouquet toss. I performed every ritual with mechanical precision, a wind-up bride going through the motions. People kept telling me how happy I looked, how perfect everything was. Marcus played his part too. He spun me on the dance floor, kissed me for the cameras, whispered I'm sorry so many times it lost all meaning. But Vanessa, she was having the time of her life. I watched her work the room, accepting compliments on her dress, dancing with groomsmen, laughing too loudly at unfunny jokes. She kept catching my eye across the room, making sure I saw her enjoying my wedding. Around 11 p.m., Marcus's college roommate cornered me by the dessert table. Hey, Claire, can I talk to you for a second? David was one of Marcus's oldest friends, someone I'd always liked. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot. Sure. What's up? I probably shouldn't say anything, but... He glanced around, making sure no one was listening. I saw something earlier. Upstairs. And I feel like you should know. My heart stopped. What did you see? Marcus and your sister. They were going into one of the rooms together. It looked. He trailed off. clearly hating this. It looked wrong. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I didn't want to ruin your wedding, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was innocent. It wasn't, I said quietly. His face crumpled. Shit. Claire, I'm so sorry. How long ago did you see them? Maybe an hour? I've been trying to work up the courage to say something. An hour ago, they'd been upstairs again. After everything, after I'd caught them, they'd gone back for more. Something inside me snapped. David, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to gather everyone in the main hall in 15 minutes. Tell them Marcus and I have a special announcement. Something we wanted to share with everyone before the night ends. Claire, what are you going to do? I smiled, and it must have been frightening because David actually took a step back. I'm going to give everyone the show they came for. 15 minutes later, I stood at the microphone with Marcus beside me, looking confused and nervous. The DJ had killed the music. 200 pairs of eyes watched us expectantly. I'd spent those 15 minutes gathering evidence. My phone, which I'd left charging in the bridal suite, had captured everything on video. I'd set it up that morning to record getting ready, a little behind-the-scenes footage I'd planned to share with friends. Instead, it had recorded my husband and sister. Thank you all so much for being here tonight, I began, my voice steady. This has truly been a day I'll never forget. Polite laughter. Marcus squeezed my hand. I pulled away. When I was planning this wedding, I kept thinking about truth, about honesty, about starting a marriage with complete transparency. Marcus's smile was starting to look strained, and I realized that I can't in good conscience start this marriage without being completely honest with all of you. Claire, what are you doing? Marcus hissed. I ignored him. This afternoon, about 3 hours ago, I walked in on my husband having sex with my maid of honor. The silence was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop. Who also happens to be my sister. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Marcus had gone white as a sheet. I scanned the room until I found Vanessa, frozen by the bar with a champagne flute halfway to her lips. Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely there's been some misunderstanding. Surely not on their wedding day. Surely not with her own sister. I held up my phone. But I have video evidence, if anyone would like to see it. Fair warning, it's pretty graphic. My new husband is very enthusiastic. Claire, stop. Marcus grabbed my arm. You're being hysterical. I shook him off. I'm being hysterical? I'm not the one who fucked my sister-in-law 3 hours after saying I do. His mother screamed. Literally screamed and had to be supported by her husband. They've been having an affair for 6 months, I continued, my voice getting stronger, which means it started around the time I was finalizing the guest list. While I was picking out flowers and choosing a menu and trying to create the perfect day, my fiancé was sleeping with my sister. Someone in the crowd started crying. I couldn't tell who. Vanessa tells me it's because I'm boring. Too vanilla. Too predictable. Marcus says he's been unhappy for months, but somehow forgot to mention it before we signed a marriage license. I finally looked at Vanessa. She was surrounded by relatives now, all of them staring at her with horror and disgust. So here's the truth, everyone. Complete transparency. This marriage is over before it started. The annulment papers will be filed tomorrow morning. And if anyone wants to know why, you can ask the happy couple, Marcus and Vanessa. I dropped the microphone. The feedback screeched through the speakers. Marcus tried to follow me as I walked off the stage, but David and 2 other groomsmen blocked his path. I heard him trying to explain, to deny, but the damage was done. Sophie materialized at my side, wrapping a shawl around my shoulders. Let's get you out of here. Wait. I turned back one last time, surveying the wreckage. Vanessa was crying now, real tears for once, as our aunts and cousins closed in on her. No one was comforting her. Everyone was demanding answers. Marcus's mother was screaming at him in Italian. His father looked like he wanted to throw a punch. Our dad was just standing there, looking lost and confused, trying to understand how his girls had ended up here. Okay, I said to Sophie. Now I'm ready. We walked out of my wedding reception together, leaving the chaos behind. Outside, the night air was cool and clean. I could finally breathe. Where do you want to go? Sophie asked. Anywhere but here. She drove me to her apartment, helped me out of my wedding dress, poured me a glass of wine I didn't drink. I sat on her couch in borrowed sweats and stared at nothing, feeling completely numb. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Marcus, Vanessa, Dad, relatives, friends. Everyone wanting to know if it was real, if I was okay, What the hell had just happened? I turned it off. You want to talk about it? Sophie asked gently. Not yet. Okay. We sat in silence until the sun came up. And then I started to plan. The annulment was straightforward. The marriage hadn't been consummated, and I had video evidence of infidelity on the wedding day. My lawyer practically salivated when I showed him the footage. This is the most open and shut case I've ever seen, he said. We can also pursue alienation of affection if you want to go after your sister. I thought about it. God, how I thought about it. No, I finally decided. I want her out of my life completely. A lawsuit means years of continued contact. What about the wedding expenses? Your husband is liable for his share. Marcus's family had paid for the venue and catering, traditional arrangement. But I'd covered the dress, the photographer, the honeymoon deposit. I want everything he's responsible for, I said. Every penny. It came to $40,000. But money wasn't revenge. Money wasn't justice for what they'd done. I needed something more. Marcus worked for a prestigious law firm downtown. His career was everything to him. The reason he'd gone to law school, clerked for a federal judge, worked 100-hour weeks to make partner. The firm had strict morality clauses. Conduct unbecoming, they called it. Behavior that reflected poorly on the firm's reputation. I didn't have to do much. The wedding had been full of lawyers, including 3 senior partners from Marcus's firm. They'd all witnessed my announcement. They'd all seen the humiliation. Within a week, Marcus was called into a disciplinary hearing. 2 weeks later, he was asked to resign. I heard about it through mutual friends. He'd tried to fight it, claimed it was his personal life and shouldn't affect his career. But the firm disagreed. Their clients were family-focused, traditional. They couldn't have a lawyer who'd betrayed his bride on his wedding day. Marcus called me, furious. You destroyed my career. No, I said calmly. You destroyed your career when you decided to fuck my sister in a room full of colleagues and clients. This is vindictive, Claire. This is cruel. You know what's cruel, Marcus? Pretending to love someone while sleeping with her sister. Making vows you knew you'd never keep. That's cruel. He was silent for a long moment. I did love you, he finally said, his voice small. No, you loved the idea of me. The successful doctor, the perfect wife, the woman who made you look good. But you didn't love me enough to be faithful. You didn't love me enough to be honest. It was a mistake. It was 6 months of deliberate choices. Every time you texted her. Every time you met up. Every time you lied to my face. Those weren't mistakes, Marcus. That was who you chose to be. I hung up. 2 months later, I heard he'd moved to another state, taken a job at a small firm for half his previous salary. His career in our city was finished. Vanessa was harder. She'd called me 30 times in the first week, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. Claire, please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But you're my sister. You're all I have. Delete. Everyone hates me. Aunt Marie won't talk to me. Dad's drinking again. The cousins blocked me on social media. Please, Claire. I need you. Delete. Fine. Be a bitch. You always thought you were better than me anyway. At least now I don't have to pretend to care. There she was. The real Vanessa. I didn't respond to any of it. Silence was its own form of punishment. But I knew it wasn't enough. Vanessa had a remarkable talent for landing on her feet, for finding someone to rescue her. She'd always had that gift. Big eyes, tearful apologies, promises to do better. She needed to understand that actions have consequences she couldn't charm her way out of. Vanessa worked in marketing for a mid-sized company. Nothing prestigious, but decent money, good benefits. She'd been there for 3 years, her longest-held job ever. I happened to know her boss Linda from a hospital fundraiser. We'd served on a committee together. I didn't tell Linda what had happened. I didn't have to. The story had made local gossip blogs. Wedding disaster. Bride catches husband with maid of honor sister. Someone had posted photos. Someone else had leaked details. Linda had seen it all. I'm so sorry, she told me when we met for coffee. That must have been devastating. It was. It is. For what it's worth, I never liked your sister. She always seemed. Linda searched for the word. Slippery. That's accurate. She's been having issues at work too. Missed deadlines, attitude problems. I've been documenting it. I didn't ask Linda to fire Vanessa. I didn't have to. The seed was planted. 3 weeks later, Vanessa was let go for performance issues. She called me, screaming, "You did this. You got me fired." I didn't do anything, I said honestly. You got yourself fired by being bad at your job, liar. Linda told me you two met. This is revenge. If I wanted revenge, Vanessa, you'd know it. This is just consequences. I hate you. I fucking hate you. Good. Now you know how I felt watching you fuck my husband. I hung up on her too. 6 months later, I heard Vanessa had moved in with Marcus. Apparently, they'd stayed together after everything fell apart. Two selfish people clinging to each other in the wreckage they'd created. Dad told me about it during one of his sober days, looking embarrassed. She says they're in love, that they want a real chance together. What do you think? I asked. I think she destroyed her only family for a man who couldn't keep it in his pants on his wedding day. I think she's an idiot. Are you still talking to her? She's still my daughter, Claire. I can't just cut her off. She cut herself off when she slept with my husband, Dad sighed. I know. But she's struggling. She can't find work. Marcus's new job doesn't pay much. They're barely getting by. I felt nothing. No sympathy. No satisfaction. Just emptiness. That's not my problem anymore. She's your sister. No, Dad. She stopped being my sister the moment she chose him over me. I meant it. The love I'd had for Vanessa, the sisterly bond Mom had made me promise to protect, it was gone, dead, burned away by betrayal. A year after the wedding, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Claire? It's me, Vanessa. Her voice sounded different, smaller, somehow. How did you get this number? Dad gave it to me. Please don't hang up. I need to tell you something. I should have hung up, but curiosity kept me on the line. Make it quick. Marcus left me. I waited. 3 months ago, he met someone else, someone younger. He said. She laughed bitterly. He said she was more exciting than me, more spontaneous. The irony was so thick I could taste it. Why are you telling me this? Because I finally understand what I did to you, how it felt. She was crying now. He cheated on me the same way we cheated on you. And it destroyed me, Claire. It completely destroyed me. Good. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. But I need you to know I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you sorry because you hurt me? Or are you sorry because you finally got hurt? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. I was jealous, she whispered. My whole life, I was so jealous of you. You were Mom's favorite. You were smarter, prettier, more successful. Everyone loved you. And I was nothing. So you tried to destroy me. I tried to be you. I thought if I took the things that made you special, I'd finally be worth something. And how did that work out? More crying. I lost everything. My job, my family, my dignity, Marcus. And worst of all, I lost you. For just a moment, one tiny moment, I felt a flicker of the old love. The big sister instinct to comfort, to fix, to make everything okay. Then I remembered her face in that bridal suite. The triumph in her eyes. The way she'd enjoyed my pain. The flicker died. You lost me the moment you touched him, Vanessa. Everything else was just collateral damage. Can we ever? Is there any chance you could forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Forgiveness was supposed to be healing. Therapeutic. The mature, evolved response to betrayal. But some betrayals were too deep. Some wounds never fully closed. No, I said finally. I don't think I can. You didn't just sleep with my husband. You enjoyed hurting me. You wanted to see me broken. And I can't forgive that. I understand. But Vanessa? Yeah? I hope you find peace. I really do. I hope you figure out who you are without trying to be me or take what's mine. I hope you become someone you can be proud of. You mean that? I do. Because my happiness doesn't depend on your misery. I'm not like you. I hung up before she could respond. 3 years after the wedding that never was, I stood in a different venue wearing a different white dress. This time, the groom was Daniel, a pediatric surgeon I'd met during a hospital merger. He was kind, funny, honest to a fault. When I told him about Marcus and Vanessa, he'd held me while I cried and never once suggested I should forgive them. Some things are unforgivable, he'd said. And that's okay. You don't owe anyone forgiveness. Our wedding was small. Immediate family only. No bridesmaids, no drama. Just two people who loved each other making promises we intended to keep. Dad walked me down the aisle, sober for 6 months and counting. He'd finally gotten help after Vanessa moved out, finally dealt with his grief over Mom. She asked if she could come, he whispered as we walked. Vanessa. I told her no. Thank you. You look just like your mother, you know? She'd be so proud of you. This time, I believed him. The ceremony was perfect. Simple, honest, real. When Daniel kissed me, I didn't wonder if he was thinking of someone else. When we said our vows, I believed every word. At the reception, Sophie gave a toast about resilience and second chances, about how the strongest people aren't those who never fall, but those who get back up. I thought about Vanessa while she spoke, wondered where she was, what she was doing, if she'd learned anything from her fall. Then I looked at Daniel, at our friends, at the life I'd built from the ashes of that first disaster, and I stopped wondering. Vanessa's story wasn't mine anymore. I'd survived her betrayal. I'd survived the humiliation, the loss, the gut-wrenching pain of being destroyed by someone I loved, and I'd built something better from the ruins. Some people spend their whole lives trying to tear others down to feel bigger. They take and take and take, always convinced they're owed something, always believing someone else's happiness is the reason for their own misery. Vanessa had taken everything she could from me, my husband, my wedding day, years of my life spent caring for her. She'd tried to take my dignity too. But she'd failed. Because dignity isn't something someone can take. It's something you give away. And I'd chosen to keep mine. Marcus had lost his career, his reputation, his future. Vanessa had lost her family, her support system, her sister. They'd lost everything chasing a thrill, feeding their selfishness. And me? I'd lost a husband who wasn't worth keeping and a sister who'd never really loved me. In return, I'd gained clarity, self-respect, the knowledge that I could survive the unsurvivable. As Daniel and I danced our first dance, I caught my reflection in the ballroom windows. I looked happy, genuinely, deeply happy. Not because Vanessa and Marcus had gotten what they deserved, though they had, but because I'd learned the most important lesson their betrayal had to teach. The best revenge is building a life so good, so full, so completely yours, that the people who tried to destroy you become irrelevant. They became footnotes in my story, and I became the hero of my own.